Well, fast forward a little bit more to the 20th century. And I've already mentioned this gentleman before, but Gustav Ahlin. And Gustav Ahlin was a Swedish Lutheran theologian. And he is the author of Christus Victor. That was the very first atonement theory that we spoke about. And see, what Ahlin did was this. He argued that Anselm's interpretation of the cross was foreign to ancient Christianity. Instead, ancient Christians believed in the classical view, or what Ahlin considered Christus Victor theory. See, Ahlin interpreted the Christus victory, although there are alternative atonement theories, satisfaction, penal substitution, ransom theory, and Christus Victor. All of these ideas, what they do is they identify this one main point, that there's this divine conflict that is happening. There's this divine conflict between God and his creation. And therefore, what each of them are trying to accomplish is this, that there's an idea of how God can resolve and bring resolution between himself and his creation, how he can relieve humanity of its sin. And humanity cannot do it on its own. There's nothing that we can do within ourselves to relieve ourselves of our sinful nature. It is only through Christ. That's why the cross of Christ, the crucifixion of Christ, is so central. Cone states this about the cross. He says, it stands at the center of the gospel. It stands at the center. The centrality of the gospel is the cross. And he says this, take away the cross, and the gospel is no longer the gospel of the God of Jesus. I think that's a wonderful quote, and it's so true. And so Cone believes that nothing dominates worship within the Black context like the preaching and the discussion about Calvary. And more importantly, the one who died on the cross for the world's sins. And so we see from Cone's perspective that when it comes to African-American preaching, African-American theological thought, that the cross is at the center, at the very core of its theology. He also says this, that most Black sermons take their climax on Calvary, and the people often wait patiently for the preacher to take them there. I love that quote. This is a short amount. Once I finish my dissertation, who knows? If I get a chance to write a book, you guys have to buy the book. And that way you can read all the things. But one of the things that I'll close with is this, that as we think about kind of this investigation, as we're going through the crucifixion, as I kind of lay down my premise and my thoughts in regards to, again, what does the cross of Christ mean within the African-American culture? This is what we're going to do. My dissertation really involves 6 steps. The very first thing is this. The study will examine the cultural factors which shaped Paul and his first century audience understanding of the cross of Christ. Secondly, the study will review Paul's theology of the cross to determine how the Old Testament scriptures inform Paul's theology, and will determine if there's any solidarity between Paul and other writers of the New Testament. My research will try to attend to the work previously completed by other scholars. I mentioned Lisa Marie Bowens. Shout out to Miss Bowens because of her work on the theology of the cross. But as we move forward, as you look at my fourth step or fourth chapter, we'll determine how Paul's writings present the motif of Christ's victory over spiritual forces. There are a number of Pauline texts that identify and really are almost in coordination with what Ahlin speaks about when he talks about Christus Victor, or victory over powers and cosmic powers and Satan and those who rebel against God. The fifth chapter will especially identify Black theologians, Black preachers, and those who were representatives of the African American community. In the next chapter, the sixth chapter, that's a chapter that I'm writing at this present moment. In this sixth chapter, we'll discuss contemporary theological studies addressing cosmic powers and talking about how we can make it relevant and contextualize methodology in today's culture and climate. And so we'll look at current individuals who are writing and speaking about the cross of Christ from an African American standpoint, and then how that is being transmitted into the community. We'll also look at culture, and you think about, I've kind of shared a little bit, but you think about music and art and literature and even sport, and how the crucifixion of Christ is being revealed in those specific areas. And then, but what does that mean? What is being presented? What is being pushed forward, in regards to the crucifixion of Christ? And then how is that being received? And so we'll talk about the relevancy and how the contextualized methodology to address cosmic forces in Black context is addressed there. And then lastly is my conclusion. That'll be the end of the dissertation, and I'll wrap up the dissertation, but I'll outline practical elements to discuss the cross, spiritual endurance and atonement, resistance and victory, so that African Americans can understand how to prepare in battle against hostile and spiritual forces. So that's the plan. Join us. And so, as I stated earlier, hey, if you like what you've heard, man, hit the like button, share, subscribe, comment below, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.